yes, I am online at the moment. I just noticed this thing about that. I guess it went just flying past that. Oh yeah, we got 2 gluons left. And so I thought, what is a photon? Well, it's 3 gluons. We already thought that. But let's do some counting. That's if we've got charges on the end. That's accounted for. We got 4 lots of electrons scattered over the 4 directions, or in all their various different guises, and then we're left with a spare gluon. And so that means lights, unless that is the frequency. I mean, it could be that that is just the frequency that, I don't know, but it seems like there's more degrees of freedom. It could actually be an additional payload, because as a programmer that would be really, really useful, because you could like start getting at a very, very high energy. You can start, well, the photons start to behave non-linearly, because of course the thing is, as we know, that gluons are non-linear. And so essentially light inherits that behavior at very high energies, because we're not making it out of electromagnetism, we're knitting it out of gluons. So it becomes a much more dynamic entity, light does, when we're dealing with it as a gluon. Here I tried to get DALI to do it in terms of single threads, but it insisted on putting it all in lots of like a rope. And it took ages and ages to do it. It really had trouble with it. But I thought it got it really beautiful, because it kind of understood that when it got RGB together, it was. I didn't tell it to make light; it just made it light, and got all romantic about it too. And I thought that was really, really nice. And now, what was the other thing? Let me just look again at my own. It's so late, and I'm having to look at, the clock. Oh gosh, oh my, I have to try and draw a picture. DALI just couldn't get it, and it's going to be very difficult for me too. The thing is to do with this, it's to do with the fact that now that passing comment that because open to closed strings is a quantum number, we've got to, it's basically the square, you know, we're having to split the strings. And so that means that a gluon is going to split into 2 open strings. And that's going to be the antiparticle, because it's forced to be by the fact that we've only got 1 neg operator on the Gödelization. So if we want to Gödelize this, we're absolutely forced in the things that we have to do sometimes, because neg is a very, very, it's acting on each of the quantum numbers in its own group. They're all in a you know, Cartesian product, they're all independent of each other. So they've all got their own neg, and you can just act on them all simultaneously with neg. And so every time you put a quantum number in, it just gets its own neg. And so that's the whole idea of if we have 1 quantum number remaining, the whole system won't work. Every single quantum number has to be lifted out, and then it all just clicks into place. And hopefully that might even yield a unique theory. I wouldn't be surprised if it just pinned down absolutely everything. Given the extremality of it already, it really wouldn't be surprising if it just turned out to be just 1 model. Because it's so extreme, it is basically a deterministic model of a multiverse. That's what it is. But it's deterministic, and that's the beautiful thing about it. It's like this condensate of a multiverse, is what I'd call it. Maybe that's the best way to phrase it. It's condensed at very, very low temperatures. And you see, that's why all this low temperature stuff is so important, because we're creating black holes and event horizons in the lab, because as soon as you start cooling stuff down really, really, really low, then all of these effects start coming into play. But then again, it's like, as I said before, the more it's got to be like a global effort to silence everything, because once things go really, really quiet and peaceful, then these effects start actually being able to like blossom rather than hide from the hammer that's trying to hit it the whole time. Because these are gentle, weak techniques to tease out the geometry from it, not hammer-like techniques. These are holistic techniques. We have to go top down rather than bottom up. And when we go top down, we actually find that you put the constraints on, and it can eventually force a unique theory. All right, so I'll try and describe before I draw it. The thing is imagine now that we've got this thing where we've got like the anti operator splits the closed string like this into two open strings like that. So what that means is if we've got a black hole event horizon, we always have to have like pairs of things coming in and out of it. So there'll be like one ray coming in that way, and as soon as all the circles, all of them will make circles when it hits the boundary, yeah? And each of those circles is going to turn, so the circles are going to make all the closed string modes, and then they propagate through the bulk and then come out the other side. So there's kind of like and then of course they have to go back through the thumb wall, but they've been processed by whatever the closed string operations are in there. And I'd imagine there would be these discrete circles, so it won't just be a continuous, I mean, in the, who knows, in the upper planes it might be continuous. But in the lower ones, let's just assume that everything's discrete, so it's much easier to deal with this algebraically. And so you get these discrete kind of circles, rainbow-like effects on the surface of these geodesic spheres. Now, what is the geometry? That's what we'd really like to know on the actual surface. You know, how does the metric work on the event horizons? It would be beautiful to get some way of rendering that well. But you know, moving around on it. I mean, well, you can't really move it. Everything, time is frozen. That's what's so beautiful about it. And I mean, the whole thing was about vanishing cosmological constant. And I was thinking, oh well, surely it's related to the blue and the red shift, because you know when if you're bang in the middle, it's not really an expanding or a contracting universe. It's really like a pinhole brain, then a brain universe. And the pinhole, of course, is just a really, really dense torus acting, or a dense sphere acting as the perfect lens. So, you know, it's just absolutely, and of course it is all conformal. So nothing ever gets distorted or lost. Information is just conserved all the way through the system, right the way from top to bottom. It's quite amazing, really. And I mean, and I really hope I can get a good night's sleep actually now, because the thing about all this stuff is once one of these things hits me, it's like I've got to get it down immediately, because it's like otherwise it just churns around on my mind all night, and I do actually need to get a night of sleep. So it's like I just get this done, and then I can actually sleep properly and rest and just be a human being rather than a space cadet. It's really more than enough. So I really appreciate you know, your tolerance in my nutty ways and strange geometric backwardness, and being like, you know, I'm the kind of person who couldn't understand the analytic number theory proof of, you know, the counting of zeros in the left half plane. But Spicer, I can understand that fine, and it's like, and everyone goes, oh, no one can understand it. And I go, oh, what can't you understand about it? It's like, it's clear as day. It's like absolutely beautiful technique. And so I just see everything geometrically, whereas some people see things algebraically. But that's enough. I mean, I'm just looping, one great big loop anyway, stringy loop, not. So you know, there was no time to show this with its anti. And anyway, as I'm trying to say, that the renditions that I'm doing of the the actual conversions on the boundary are not correct. It's not just a simple flip. There's a kind of FFT to circle to gravity to da 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 da. It just keeps on changing its form as it goes around. And because the Hamiltonians are actually dependent on the Gödel number, it's like something that works for one person won't work for another, or one particle won't work for another. And so and whole chunks of space can be entangled with other places and swapped around and all sorts of things. So, I mean, I suppose it was, there was always that feeling that maybe M standard for magic, and there's a meaning in shamanism that magic means something quite different. It means it's not a magical system at all. It's a very earthy system. It's about just accepting your own relationship with yourself as being a reflection of the relationships that you have with others, and that anything that you say about anyone else, you're really saying about yourself. So it's really just an acceptance of that automorphic personality of the entire cosmos. And once you're in tune with that, it's like it's in tune with you and will give you all of this information. And I suppose I've been lucky enough to be able to have the mathematical or this geometric ability to scribble down these visions that I get, but at the end of the day they're visions and quite tiring. So with that, I'll say thank you, love you all, you're all great, and if anyone can make any sense headway of this, great, and all the best. And if anything pops up in the next few days, you know, expect me to come back. But I think, let's see, I've got various things to do at the moment, so fingers crossed, having light and seeing that it's got an extra payload is more than enough to get people thinking about what the Feynman diagrams for this stuff looks like, because it just seems to change everything a bit. So I thought people would like to see all this and like see how it messes with whatever pictures they've got and what they can make of it. So, and shoot it all down, you know, that's what, if you can find a terrible blunder, you know, that's what Noel used to do, and I'm quite happy with it. But at the end of the day, I got some pretty pictures out of it, and so even if the equations are, if I'm just completely up the spout with them, to make a complete blunder, at least the pictures look quite pretty. So with that, I'll love and leave you all, and good night, all the best, bye.